So I got your PR the other day, Ian. So thank you for that. Um, that was merged in. The PR that I'm talking about, Derek, by the way, is re we took standards out of declarations and moved them into definitions. So Ian did a PR for SSDF. And then I'm going to try to get the other ones in that repo updated this week. So the specification itself has already been updated. The schema itself has already been updated to support that. So we just need to get our examples kind of up to date. Jeff Williams and I actually had a call with NIST yesterday that went really well. So they seem to be very, very open to a lot of our work. They obviously there's going to be a little bit of overlap, not a lot, but a little bit of overlap with OSCAL, which is fine. But they really like the attestation part. I mean the broader picture, not just security, the full picture. Some of the ideas that were thrown out were how this could potentially reduce cost to CMMC and all kinds of other potential things. So anyway, we're going to take 853R5. We'll probably take 800-171 as well. And we're going to convert those into Cyclone. And hopefully we can also provide them back the script that actually does the conversion so that they could actually theoretically do that themselves. Awesome. We're going to be scheduling some follow-up calls with NIST. One of the people that we want to talk to, well, one, we're going to be talking to the OSCAL folks. But more importantly, we're going to be talking to one of the gentlemen that actually handles like all the distribution of the standards on the website and the different formats that those standards are represented in. Okay, so obviously we can't do CycloneDX now because it's still a draft spec. But once this is released, the plan is to try to get them to support this format in addition to the few other formats that they support, so that when you are consuming it, you could theoretically download all NIST standards in the future in a machine readable CycloneDX format
that amazing.
You could then attest to. Right, exactly.
That's going to be amazing. It does bring up one question on my side though. When we talk about external references, like if they publish it out in their repos or on their site, how are we going to link to that in our document? I know that we did make a provision for that, but like that would be something probably good for us to look through now, since we have that level of buy-in from them. That's huge. I think we just want to make sure that that story is really nice and really clean.
Yes, I did name drop you. Well, not you, Ian, specifically, but I didn't name drop Lockheed Martin. It's no secret that you guys have been a really big supporter of ours. I did mention the fact that you have tens of thousands of products that you supply to the U.S. government, and that a PDF is probably not in your best interest. So,
agreed.
So he completely gets it. So it was a great conversation. So anyway, as that kind of progresses, I'll let you know. Jeff and I also, I don't know if I updated you on the PCI stuff or not last week, but we did have a follow-up with the PCI Council folks. They're in the process of updating some of their standards, and as part of the update, they plan to offer machine readable versions of them. Now, whether it's just pure JSON or comma separated value or whatever machine readable means to them, I don't know. But we're probably at this point going to wait until some of that effort actually produces something, because otherwise we would literally have to go through all of the PDFs that they currently have and just literally just copy and paste, which one is going to be painful, and two, it's going to be error prone, right? People make mistakes, whether it's pasting something in the wrong place or not copying the entirety of what it is that we're supposed to copy, or even just assuming that a PDF is actually going to copy it, and follow the um, and follow the actual text line by line, right? Which sometimes just doesn't work.
It's hard to believe that they don't have just an Excel file even yet that they publish out.
Yeah.
Question from a strategic perspective. I know that you mentioned that you were going to wait a little while with NIST because it's not actually part of the standard yet, not part of the CycloneDX spec yet. Can we not wait and say part of draft, like 1.6 draft or whatever the next release version is, just say like, hey, here's the example of it for that? Especially since if PCI is looking to do a machine readable format, if we could go out and say, hey, we're working with NIST now to do that work. This is a machine readable format that we are starting to push and that we have buy-in now from 3-4 places. Perhaps that would be a good way to work with them earlier on in the process as this being their standard way for machine reading this.
Yeah, that would be great. I'll follow up with them too. I need to reply back to them anyway. Um, at this point, even though it's draft, the way that these standards and requirements are actually represented today, I don't envision any change. I might envision a few changes with the attestations. We haven't proven that that is perfect yet. But I mean, Ian and I have both done multiple standards. We've ran into a few minor issues here and there. We've corrected them. It works. We've proven that this works. We haven't necessarily proven the other thing, but I don't need that other thing in order for NIST and PCI and others to start doing this. So let me follow up with PCI Council and kind of let them know that at this point the standards and requirements part of the spec is almost dry cement, um, and that it would be fairly safe to start adopting it at this point. So yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, I concur. I think that portion of the spec is just quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we can have the story of once this is released, right? Here's NIST, they're early adopters. Here's PCI, they're fast follow adopters. That does a lot to solidify the legitimacy of this method right there. And that will increase adoption if we have those two as like signing parties on this, as well as OWASP. Like, who else do you really need to worry about? There are others, obviously, but
Right.
that's a very, very strong use case to just adopt it.
Right. Yeah, obviously, the big gorilla is like ISO 27001 and all those other relevant standards. But paywall, I don't know what's gonna happen there. It would be interesting if we could have a conversation with folks at ISO. I just personally don't know anybody over there, but I might be able to get some names. But
I can reach out through some of the folks that I know back at Booz Allen, see if they have any contacts as well. And I was going to let them know about this anyway, especially since the NIST stuff might happen. That's definitely something they're going to care about a lot. That's a lot of the work that they do.
Okay, very good. Welcome, Jeff.
Hey, sorry I'm late. I
Yeah,
was on
no
a
worries.
plane. How we doing?
Safe travels. Yeah, we just started a few minutes ago. I just briefed them on our meeting with NIST the other day, briefed them on
Yeah.
kind of where we are with PCI Council. I'm going to follow up with the PCI Council guy. At this point, Ian and I both believe that where we are with the spec in terms of specifying standards and requirements is at a stable enough point now where if PCI Council is working on machine readable things in their updates, right, which they said they were, that this would actually be a safe, even though it's draft, this would be a safe thing for them to actually start adopting today.
Yeah, I agree. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'll send a follow-up email today, Jeff.
Okay.
I know we still have definitions to go through.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Fun, fun, fun. Um, and I'm currently in the process of adding the signatories to the specification as well, right? We had the example, but for whatever reason, I missed it in the actual schema. So Ian, I'm in the process of doing that. It's on my other machine right now.
Okay.
But I should have that probably done tonight. Where was oh, it's not in here. It was shared by you, wasn't it? Here we go. Let's see. Is that what I want to share? Yes, I think so. All right. Can everybody see this?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. All right. We didn't make it through too many of these last time, did we?
No.
And there hasn't been really a lot of updates to the document. It doesn't look like either.
Yeah.
There's
I've
no.
been a little busy.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Um, so yeah, let's try to go through as many of these today as we possibly can. And if there's things we need to revisit, we can mark those in red or something. Now, these are declarations, but we also have
So if there's, just in terms of consistency, if we have one thing, are we calling it the bomb ref or the whatever? And then if it's a list, we say a list of? Or it's not totally consistent, or maybe it is.
yeah, I would
Well, like you can, some of them don't have a article at the beginning, like it just says URL to the common whatever,
yeah. I'd
instead
rather
of
have a
saying the URL.
yeah, I'd rather have an actual sentence instead of a fragment,
Yeah.
you know. This will eventually there'll be an announcement probably in another month, but this will eventually be the CycloneDX stuff. The way we develop it is we take the specification and we immediately create implementations of it, but we will be creating a human readable version of it as well.
Uh-huh.
So having complete sentences is going to make that job a lot easier.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That was just one thing I noticed,
Yeah, yeah,
consistency wise.
yeah. We've been trying over the last couple of releases of the spec. We've been trying to work a lot on our documentation. So this release will be no different. Um,
Oh, because we added definitions, didn't we?
yeah, we did. What was the description I used for that?
Define
What am I?
standards which may consist of regulations, dot, dot, dot. I'm
Oh
actually
yeah,
looking at
okay.
the commit right now. I wanted to see what
Good,
the change was.
good. Because I was going right there.
I'll throw the link in chat for you. That's the direct link, I think.
Perfect. All right. Yeah, removed it from there.
Line 425 right there.
Yeah. So this is the description of what I came up with last night. But like everything else, it's up for debate.
So it should be a list of some things that define standards, right?
A list of standards, which may, yeah, we can start off like that, yeah. So we could say a list of, if we want consistency.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what's the rest of that? Oh, I can probably, hold on, I can see it. It's, I'm on a phone. To make
Oh,
consistent.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I can get it.
So am I understanding correctly that we moved standard underneath definitions, or?
Yeah, you define a standard. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we should say best practices, comma, or any other policies or any other requirements that can be evaluated against or attested to, right? I just don't want to limit it. Like the lawyer in me is like, we should probably uh make it broad.
Yeah, and that's very specifically calling out like, hey, individual companies can do this. Like that's part of the idea. Have your compliance team build one.
Let's get rid of
Right.
that and before best practices. Yeah, I like it.
Best practices, comma, or any other requirements which can be evaluated against or attested to.
Yep.
Okay. A list of standards.
How do I, wait, what?
A
This
list
is-
of standards.
This is like this is like the not external reference one though, right? This is like where they're actually here.
Yeah, so this should, in this particular case, we've got standards, but we also have the plural sense as well, because there is a thing called a standard. It's an object. So we need to
What
define what that object is.
is there an external standard and like it feels like the first thing that we were defining is like the external standards like NIST and SSDF and things like that. But this one feels like it's more like just it's a list of standards we're gonna write down right here.
Actually, this one, well, I mean, right now, so we added definitions, and the only thing in definitions that is currently supported are standards, but in the future, there might actually be other things that are going to be supported. So I should probably move that description down here. And then we can come up with a different, more generic thing to put for definitions.
And is this like what goes into definitions again? Like is it anything that can be bomb refed to?
Any object in Cyclone can be bomb refed for the most part.
Hmm.
So
No, I'm talking about external things that can be bomb. Like I don't know, are these extra? This set, are they external or?
if you can bomb ref it, you can do it internal or external. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
That's the beauty of the spec. So what we're thinking of in terms of a spec, we're thinking of a couple of different scenarios. We're thinking of making this more of a legal/policy type of thing. We're also thinking about just making this a generic way to just reuse objects.
Yeah.
Right? I can define a component, or I can define a license, or whatever. We're not there yet, but the fact that we can define things without necessarily explicitly stating them as part of the inventory is basically what this is.
Hmm. Do we have some examples?
Well, right now, just standards.
So is this something that we are then just referencing in another section, or is this something that we're specifically saying we're going to attest to things in the definition?
Everything in definition will always be referenced to.
So it's always going to be referenced, but doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be attested to.
Correct.
So is it just kind of like a glossary almost? Like just
Yeah. Yeah, kind of.
where would you reference those things from?
Well, one use case we are thinking about, which we haven't done yet, is licenses. Right? If I've got 100 components and 70 of them are Apache 2.0 licensed, and I've got all the inline licenses, do I want to really have 70 different full Apache 2.0 licenses, or just do I want to define one and then just link them all to that one?
Actually, I think that's wouldn't you just bomb ref out to the SPDX ID for that though? Like,
You could, but if you actually wanted the full text of it in the SBOM, right now, the way CycloneDX is authored, you'd have to have 70 different copies of that same text. Some legal teams are very verbose. And if those legal teams are verbose, then these files get really, really large.
Yeah.
So one way to counteract that is just to define a bunch of different things and then just reuse those things. Which is kind of what we're doing with standards, right? We're defining standards. That way we can attest to them.
right, but so I guess a question for me would be like, for that other use case, wouldn't that be evidence rather? Wouldn't that be like an evidence object that we would be creating for the thing that we're attesting to? Like saying, yes, we're using the correct license standard or the correct or allowed licenses for our organization. Here's the evidence of those licenses.
You could. That would be one
Like
use case.
for that particular one. Yeah.
But if I'm just an SCA scanner and I'm picking up all my licenses as I'm performing a scan, then
but that's evidence. Like that's literally evidence that the scanner is generating and saying this is what I am finding. So wouldn't that be evidence as opposed to a definition?
What if you just wanted to define the list of licenses that are approved at my organization?
Sure.
That's not in this, it's not in the standard, and it's not really evidence. It's just like a really cool piece of information to be able to link to and say like, oh, as defined in my license acceptance policy or whatever. And then you just refer to that.
Right. That's
Definitely.
actually a really good use case, actually.
Yeah, but from an implementation perspective, like as it's written right now, wouldn't that just be an internal standard? These are our standard things that these are our standard licenses that we allow. Because without an additional field, I would overload that.
Yeah, I was thinking like if this was an attestation about the SSDF, and that would be the standard. And then those other things are like I'm not really trying to attest to my internal policy. I'm trying to attest to SSDF. So what does that make my internal policy?
Well, the mapping then would be SSDF. You have a list of licenses that are approved, or you have an open source license policy, right? And then you would have evidence showing that you match to that policy. Like, wouldn't that? Again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here based on.
No, you're right. I'm trying to figure out use cases for it. I mean, it seems like a handy thing to have.
And do we need to figure it out now? Is it good to just have this as a container for the time being? And then we can, as we go through, if we find a use case, we can have that conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can come back to this. In
Yeah.
fact, let's actually go down. I've been reading name, description, version, owner. I just made a typo correction to owner. Does anybody have any objections to these few? Name, description, version, or owner?
No, although I think they should be like the version of the standard and the description of the standard. Like a description sounds like there might be multiple descriptions of the standard.
Right.
Your legalese is definitely coming out.
What's do we want to use? I mean, yeah,
I think that's fine. You could
yeah,
just say what a description is, but come on, it's a description. Like
exactly.
you could
Exactly.
say several sentences describing. No, damn it, I used describe again.
Yeah, right.
Several sentences that capture the purpose of the standard, or I don't know.
A list of requirements associated with the standard. Okay.
Yeah,
Associated with, is that strong enough language?
you could say that comprise the standard.
Yeah, or enumerated in the standard. Comprised is more concise.
A list of requirements
That comprise the standard.
that
Or
comprise the standard.
or comprising the standard. That's what that means.
Yeah.
Is that right? Comprising the standard? Okay.
A list of, you might say the requirements comprising the standard.
The requirements?
The
No.
the
Uh,
list of
A
requirements.
list of the requirements. It
Oh.
just implies that it's all of them.
Yeah, I think more so in this part of the spec, I think words are going to matter a lot more.
Wouldn't we just make
Yeah.
something? So again, just going down that, everything else is starting with the. So why wouldn't we just make it the list of requirements comprising the
I'm
standard?
I'm good with that. This should all be the list.
So for number 9, the list.
That's what I was asking earlier. It's like we've got thes for just the concrete things and for lists, but maybe they should just all be the. I think that'd be
Let me
good.
see
Standards.
what is, let me see what's done in the other pieces. So like if you look at components right now under this spec, it says a list of software, blah, blah, blah components. So in other parts
Right.
of the spec, it uses a for list.
Right.
I don't have a strong opinion about that. Doesn't matter.
And you can blame most of that inconsistency on me.
You sound like you're all broken up about it.
Hey, at least I'm consistent about being inconsistent.
Nice.
um
I'm good with you down to there. If we want to keep rolling.
and should not require off used in or defined in.
Identifier used in the standard to identify a specific
Used
requirement.
in.
Yeah,
Yeah, when I
I
wrote
think that's
this, my
good.
thought was trying to convey what is the standard referred to the requirement as, not what is the CycloneDX bomb wrap for it.
What's that?
I guess, yeah, I guess that used in, I guess the big takeaway here is just trying to convey like it is not the bomb ref. It is whatever the standard identifies the requirement as.
Yeah, I like it. It's pretty clear.
Should we call out the unique identifier, or is that because most of the standards, I think they are all unique.
Boy, it'd be really tough if you had two requirements with the same number.
Yeah.
I think for our purposes, we want it to be unique.
Uh-oh. Oh, apparently I'm the host now. Great.
Oh, Steve bailed on us.
All right, I'll go ahead and add it in here. Unique. The unique identifier used in a standard to
You want to share your
identify a
screen?
specific requirement. Fortunately, I'm doing the old, my company blocks Google everywhere. So I got to use like one laptop for typing and one for Zoom.
Wow.
Steve's
Big
back.
corporate life over here. It just sucks.
It literally blocks Zoom.
They block basically all Google services. So I got to use like two devices to do all this.
Yeah, because you guys are probably blocked on Slack too, right?
We have an internal Slack organization, but yeah, I have two computers. I have my internal Slack on my work computer, and then I have everything else on a different system.
My work machine is, I think the endpoint protection right now is going mad. So I can't connect to anything right now. My personal machine, which is right next to it, is perfectly fine.
Every time I try
So-
to do anything, that endpoint protection jumps in and makes it impossible. And then it takes me forever to figure out, like, why is this failing? I couldn't use the git command line. And I was like, what is happening? And sure enough, it's like blocked.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially for security teams, it makes it really difficult to actually do your job in some cases.
Yeah.
Because kind of what our job is to violate whatever policy is, right? So
Crank call, crank call. I'm not saying that.
oh yes. I'm trying to find the document again on my other machine, so just bear with me a minute. Shared with me or recent, I guess. Here we go. Yeah, this machine is dead. Okay, where's my share button?
There we go.
Okay. So did we I don't know if we settled on the word unique. Oh wait, oh this was changed. Oh no, we were up here.
Yeah.
Unique.
So on line 10, I added unique already.
Okay, perfect. All right. Title.
And are all these things optional? I mean, does a requirement have to have a title? It could just be text, right?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of these fields are optional.
Okay, yeah, okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah,
I just
and when we generate the documentation, whether it's JSON or otherwise human readable, it'll actually say that these fields are either optional or required.
right. We added it explicitly to the bomb ref one there. Is that
I mean, it's a little redundant. I mean, it's fine, but I mean, it is technically redundant.
okay?
I think the key text is the stuff that's in blue on that. That was like one of the things that we just on this group had some differences.
On line 14?
Yeah, the only child requirements should define parents versus the top level requirements should have nothing. I don't know how we want to maybe make that more concise here. So the top level requirement should not refer to the bomb ref of the standard. It should be blank.
Correct. Yeah, you actually made that. Didn't you do that in your initial SSDF one?
I did, yeah. And we decided that was not the best approach.
Yeah. So how do we articulate that then?
I mean, I thought that the way you just did, Ian, was perfect. Just say the optional bomb ref to a parent requirement, period. Parent requirements do not have a parent element, comma, only child requirements should define parents.
Okay. So we're just missing that one sentence.
Yeah.
Okay. What was that sentence?
Ian, you said it wonderfully initially.
I don't even know what I said.
I might have to go back to the recording.
Parents should not have or root requirements or parent requirements should not have or should not define a parent. Well, no, because that's unclear then, because
That's
you
not
might have a
true.
parent with children that also has a top one. So it really is root level shouldn't have one. Or root, yeah. Because we can have a hierarchy where you have, you know, 3 or 4 deep. So that it's really more the concept of root level in a standard should not have one.
Root level requirements should not define a parent. Only child requirements should define parents.
Yeah, I can feel that being.
I'm not convinced that that's true in all standards. Like, I think the PCI it has words around the requirement that says, like, you know, all systems will have access control. And then underneath it, there's more requirements that like detail that out, like access control must be purple or whatever. So, but even the parent has text associated with it. So
Yeah.
I'm tempted to just leave this out.
Leave the
Actually,
root level sentence out.
Yeah, I guess I don't understand what we're trying to do there. If it's it seems weird to say that only children can have a parent. I mean, it's kind of like, of course.
So if we take a step back for a second and think about this from like a requirements traceability perspective, even those top level requirements, those very root level ones, still technically point back to the standard itself. And that's kind of what would define, like, you've got this standard, the standard object, and like those
Yeah.
root level requirements could theoretically point back to that standard. And then you know that those are the ones that are the top level requirements and everything else is a child one. And that would then make this a required field, and maybe help us to establish that full traceability through it. I'm throwing that out there as an idea.
So the alternatives are like either the root requirements or the top level requirements, either we say they point back to this to the standard,
Or they're
or they
empty.
would just have nothing.
Yeah.
But either way, you'd know that it's a root standard, right?
Yep.
So maybe we should just leave them blank. Like, we already have a link to the standard itself.
And maybe instead of root level, we just do top level requirements.
Yes. So are we saying top level requirements should just have a blank description or something?
Should just
No, they
be
can have a
empty.
description, but the parent field would be empty.
Yeah,
Blank.
this
Yeah,
is
okay.
just field.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so
all
top
we're
level
saying.
requirements must not define a parent. Okay, that makes sense. It's almost the definition of top level.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yep. Okay, got it.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think what we're trying to do is just discourage people from doing what I did, which is link to the standards bomb ref there.
Right.
Right.
I think I like that one the way that is. The one above it should probably start with the. And it should be the URL to the corresponding CRE. I just don't want people putting in a link to the top level CRE there.
Huh?
Should have requirement at the end. CRE, the URL to the corresponding CRE requirement.
Right now it says the URL to the corresponding common requirements enumeration.
But isn't it like aren't we the URL to the matching item, or what do we call things that are in the CRE?
Yeah.
I was going to call them a requirement. It's
They all have
okay. I like
identifier.
identifier. That's more specific. Yep.
They call it a common requirement, is their parlance on the site. So a common requirements enumeration in parentheses CRE space common
Common requirement.
requirements.
What is it? Common requirements?
It is common requirement according to their website.
I'm still
That's
going to
it.
put identifier in there just for verboseness.
Sure.
Okay. That's a generic description. A list, the list,
The list of levels associated with the standard. So I'm guessing this is like, silver, gold, platinum, whatever levels
ASPS
you
level
got.
1, 2, 3. Yep.
Right.
When we're talking about that type of thing in here, do we want to put in specific examples?
We
I
can
think
put in
it's super
examples,
helpful.
yes.
So would we want to just say like in here salsa level 1 versus 2, or like pick an OWASP standard that has those types of levels?
Yep,
and put
we
that
can
in
do
there?
that.
ASVS definitely has 4 levels, I think, or 0, 1, 2, 3 levels, something like that.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and ASVS, most OWASP standards have 3, some of them have 4 levels, but most of them have 3. Salsa, I think, has 4. Yeah,
Yeah,
we can provide a few different examples.
Yeah, I would
Maturity
definitely.
models tend to have 5.
Yeah. The identifier used in the standard to identify a specific level.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about, like A, B, or C, right?
Yep.
Yep.
The title of
Title
the
of the level. Oh, so it's got like A, and then the title is like ad hoc or idiot level or whatever.
exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Description of the level, easy. And then a list of requirements that must be assessed to meet the level. That's a weird way of saying that.
It's basically a list of the requirement bomb refs. So it's an array of bomb refs for that particular level.
I think what I would not want to see there is maybe mixing it with requirement identifiers.
Right, exactly. We need to be explicit that we want bomb refs.
Yeah.
Also, just from a consistency thing, I noticed that the last couple we haven't ended with periods, and most of the ones before that we have.
Good catch.
Yeah, I'll end everything with a period when
Okay.
I copy and paste it in. Um,
I would have said, instead of saying that must be assessed to meet the level, that kind of implies a use case. I would just say that comprise the level.
yeah. A list of requirement bomb refs that comprise the level.
Yeah.
Okay. How's everybody with line 22?
Are we skipping 21?
This is
That's
from
just,
the specification itself.
I
So
see.
if we want to change it, it's fine, but I need to change it like 40 times.
No, that's fine. I don't care. Not that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's good.
Okay. So line 23, the list of assessors evaluating claims and determining conformance and confidence to requirements.
I like determining conformance to requirements, but I feel like you wouldn't say evaluating claims and determining confidence to requirements.
Are they evaluating claims or are they making claims?
I think the assessors are making Sorry, they're
Yeah.
evaluating claims. The developer is making claims, right?
Well,
Or like whoever's,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just say like whoever's generating the evidence is, well, they're supporting the claims, but no, they have to say like, like the builders are saying like, I did developer training. And then the assessor comes in and goes like, oh yeah, I see you've got evidence. I'm assessing your conformance to that requirement. It looks good. Or, you did 70% of developers or whatever.
But they are then evaluating those claims, right? So
Assessors are evaluating claims. Yeah, I think
yeah,
that's right. I don't think the developers are evaluating the claims. They're supporting them. I was just saying that the confidence to requirements, determining confidence to requirements is a little weird. You might say something like evaluating claims and determining conformance to requirements and confidence in
and
uh,
confidence in that
assessment.
in that assessment. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's better.
So I may have missed it. Maybe it isn't an example where it's in the spec. But based on that, under the map section in X1, I would have expected there to be an assessor listed under the mapping, who is then making that evaluation, and they're going to say what it is.
There's the
There,
organization associated with the assessor.
well, attestations assessor, then attestations map. So within that attestation object, there is one assessor. That
Oh, okay.
assessor is mapping all of those things.
I missed
So
Yeah.
it. You're right.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that one you got highlighted, we should put conformance first, then confidence. Like it seems to me that it always goes first. First you conform and then you have confidence in that assessment. If you go down 5 lines, it's got confidence first. It's line 28. That one towards the end. Maybe I'm nitpicking, but I would switch those.
For line 24, do we feel like that is the whole set of what types of assessors are self-purchaser independent?
Well, I'd be willing to bet there's other ones.
So right now
Other
we have it kind of
relationships there.
yeah, I would say it's an enum
Right. It
of
could be
three
like
values.
government, some agency comes in and does an assessment, or I don't know. I could ask
So
our
should that
CISO here.
be, I think my question is like, right now it's an enum of three specific types. Should that be better suited as like a text field that you put in your own type?
That's a good question.
have a definition of assessor types. And then you could make it expandable very readily there and leverage that definition thing we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Do we want do we first of all, do we want a description for type? And then if so, that's great, we can do that. And then do we also want a description for each of the enums? We've got self, purchaser, and independent.
Well,
I mean, it could be legal. It could be regulatory assessor. I can there's probably a bunch of different types of assessor that I can't even think of right now.
Yeah, and if you're including an organization like internal self-attestation, you might well want the department that's involved in there. I don't think enum's going to work here. I think it needs to be more open than that.
We could just say, for example, self, third party.
Well, the
Uh,
organization is part of it already.
Well, if we have like the security team assessing a particular set of things, right? It's self, but it's a sub item of self. Like it's our organization, so it is self, but it's specifically the security team within that group that would be assessing that.
Mhm.
So the devs might be making that claim, but the security team is then assessing to it, and compliance is validating it even further. Like they may have their own assessment that they're doing here. So that's why I'm thinking that maybe this enum of 3 really doesn't cover everything.
there's kind of two big factors that I care about when I think of an assessor. I want to know if it's internal or external, because external implies a level of independence. Maybe it's independent, it captures that. But the other thing that I care about is like the level of skill that they have and like the level of rigor they're doing the assessment with. And that varies a lot. It could be like somebody, a certifier or something who just kind of, flips through the pages and goes, yep, looks like an A. Or it could be somebody who's, like doing their own testing and really digging in and verifying every single requirement.
Yeah, and that's one where you could say, like, is like maybe there's a field of is internal or self-assessment rather than, like just have that as a Boolean. And then you could
Yeah.
define other assessors either in your definitions or just by having, the organization here. But then I think that this is a little bit, the assessor's object is a little light at that point and might need some additional stuff. That's where I kind of like the idea of having a definition of what your assessors are, which you can then reference here maybe.
Yeah. Oh,
And that way,
why wouldn't we just put it here? Like just have a description of the assessor and you
yeah,
could say like, oh, this is Ernst and Young and they've been in business for 400 years or whatever.
yeah,
But I really like that Boolean thing that says, hey, this is an independent assessment or it's a self-assessment.
yeah. I would think something like maybe self-assessment true or self-assessment false and like default to false or something like
Yeah, it's
that.
just such an important question because people
Yeah.
really do care about independence.
But then I think we do need to add a few more things into here potentially to maybe help better describe it. I'm not sure though. I have to think about that a little bit.
Okay.
I
think that's a
apologize. I have
good.
a hard stop today, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, me too.
Consider adding a definition or a description of the assessor as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. I also have a hard stop, but good conversation. At least I know where to pick up next time. I'm gonna get all these descriptions into the spec over the weekend as well. So we'll have all the way up through assessors in the spec by this time next week. So talk to y'all soon. Cheers.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Bye.